Hi everyone, welcome to today's little quick episode. We're going to be talking about ODD. ODD is oppositional defiance disorder. Especially professionally, it's very interesting other people's professional perspectives and understanding of what oppositional defiance disorder is and how they can then accidentally shame a mother or a parent to say that you didn't meet their needs, therefore they have oppositional defiance disorder. And if you just meet their needs, then ODD won't exist. I'm just going to say ODD this session instead of oppositional defiance disorder, obviously, but that's just a little clarification before we begin. So, understanding that sometimes obviously parenting is difficult enough. You need to be able to find people that are on your side and not people that make you feel worse about what you're going through or how you're parenting. You want people to be able to lift you up and empower you and give you strategies and have empathy and compassion about how difficult it is, about sometimes how I feel like I'm out of my depth. I don't know what this is. And even parents and mums that come into me and they say, I've got this kind of child. I've seen 5 different professionals with 5 different modalities, and they've given me 5 different parenting techniques. I'm so confused. I've done all of them and it's still not working. So it's really, really sad. And I need to validate mums in this moment, especially because we are mentally strong mums, about how difficult it really is in this modern age where even though we're growing and learning and they're getting more understanding and diagnoses, but sometimes when you get too many people in your soup, so too many cooks in the kitchen, it can be really difficult and overwhelming. And then you feel like even when you see the experts and you're doing what the experts are telling you to do and it's still not working, you then feel like, well, obviously this is my fault. If the experts are telling me what to do and the behavior of my child still isn't changing, it's obviously my fault, right? Which isn't the case. Okay. So that for me is really sad. And even I've got a couple of mums in similar situations, and the information and advice that the parents have been given is incorrect in terms of attachment theory and secure attachment for your child, especially that neurodiverse informed thinking. So when we talk about ODD, it's essentially under the neurodiverse umbrella. This is going to be on YouTube as well as on you can just listen to it. So I'm going to explain it to you if you're listening, but obviously if you're on YouTube at my Mentally Strong Mums page, it'll be easy if you understand. So where your forehead is, that there is your higher thinking. So the higher in the brain, the higher the thinking, the more complex and the more rational, logical that you have. The lower the base of the brain is the more caveman reptilian part of the brain. That's when you get triggered or you're fear or you're overwhelmed, all of that kind of stuff, right? The higher bit of your brain, which is your frontal lobe, which is your forehead, that's your rational thinking, consequences, reasoning, and logic. And that's also where you're regulated and calm and present. Okay. So for a lot of people, especially children, that won't develop, especially in comparison to neurotypical people until, well, boys are 25 on average and girls are 23. So sometimes they don't have the capacity to think about consequences or to look forward in a lot of different situations. That's why sometimes they do stupid stuff, because their brains at this age literally do not understand the consequences of their behavior. So then a parent going to them, what were you thinking? They're not, because it hasn't been developed yet. And so that's the fine line and fine balance we need to be able to help understand to nurture and grow. So oppositional defiance disorder, from my perspective, falls under the neurodiverse umbrella, which means that your frontal lobe or your executive functioning, which is your forehead, which is higher thinking, is then impacted and doesn't function or process the way that normal people or neurotypical people or people that their executive function or their foreheads are fine. Okay. So when I'm neurodiverse. So when you're neurodiverse, you can kind of have a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this. So I have a little bit of ADD, a little bit of ADHD, I've got a little bit of autism, I've got a little bit of dyslexia, a little bit of dyscalculia and dysgraphia. Sometimes if my anxiety's peaking because my internalizing and my thoughts because of my ADD or ADHD, that then leads to anxiety, which then can increase my OCD behavior stuff, right? Okay. ODD, oppositional defiance disorder, kind of falls under this little neurodiverse umbrella. And even if you Google neurodiverse umbrella, it can be a beautiful visual image on how to be able to understand it. We think in pictures, so this is very important for a lot of people. If you have ODD or your child has ODD or even your partner has ODD, oppositional defiance disorder, their brain is essentially, don't tell me what to do because I'm not going to do it. But if you tell me I'm not going to do something or I can't do something, I'm going to do everything within my power to be able to prove that I can. So if, just say hypothetically, my partner has undiagnosed ADD. Sometimes it looks like when there's major events like Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, birthdays, or Christmas, they don't get you anything because it's, don't tell me what to do. Society, don't tell me what to do and what I have to be able to buy and how I have to be. So internally, they then revolt to say, I'm not doing it, right? So then you never get any presents because of their ODD. Sometimes, just say hypothetically they're a smoker and they don't want to smoke anymore and they've been trying hard to quit. But their internal voice and their internal dialogue is saying, listen, you need to stop smoking. You need to quit. Stop smoking. Even that, their own voice is telling them what to do. So their oppositional defiance disorder is, don't tell me what to do. I'm going to continue smoking. Do you know? So that's sometimes really difficult because even when they know they're not meant to be doing something or they want to do something, if they feel or perceive that someone's telling them something, it's very difficult to be able to because their body fights against them, right? So oppositional defiance disorder sometimes in kids can also look like defiance. So they're very defensive. Please, I told you not to eat that biscuit. Don't eat that cookie. I didn't do that. I just saw you do it. Like, I literally just saw you eat it. I know I didn't. Very defensive. Don't tell me what to do. I didn't do all of that kind of stuff. So that can be very difficult as well. So even though experts, quote unquote experts, may say to you, if you just meet their emotional needs, then oppositional defiance disorder will go away. That is you can understand if you feel safe and secure and your emotional needs are met, you feel safer and secure within your body. You have that secure attachment. You feel as if you can be heard and you can be yourself more often. So at least it's not going to completely go away, but at least you've got a better chance and a better opportunity to be able to negotiate and be flexible and be able to try and figure out routines. Because especially with ODD, as I said, they're probably going to be under that neurodiverse umbrella. So it's not just ODD you're combating. You also have potential ADHD or ADD, one or the other, or the combined type, right? So that means sometimes it looks like impulsivity. They're very impulsive. They've got time blindness, so they're in their la-la land. They then hyperfocus or hyperfixate on something so nothing else around them exists. And then they can be very distracted very easily. They also have the thing where I can't do a task. I can't do a task until it's on the due date. And sometimes for some people, it's impossible to complete a task. So even with some of those things, you can almost see them overlapping a little bit with ODD and how they've got little characteristics of everything in little bits and bobs and parts. That's because of executive functioning. Executive functioning is really, really important because it helps planning. So that's the higher thinking where your forehead is. I'm still pointing at my forehead. Higher thinking like planning, organizing, being regulated and calm, being rational, um, memory, even little things people take for granted like short-term memory. Every time my kid stands up, he's forgotten what he's doing. And sometimes I do that too. Sometimes I'll walk through a door and then I'll go, oh, what am I doing again? All of that kind of stuff. So it's important to understand that if your child is neurodiverse, potentially it's genetic from one or two parents. Understanding what oppositional defiance disorder is and how sometimes it's obviously not a choice, but it's my body and my brain and my executive functioning always on alert and always trying to protect myself the best way that it can by not being controlled or told what to do. Okay. So that's not the reality. And as a mum, we're not trying to control you or tell you what to do. We just want to leave the house so we can go to school. And we want to do this in peace and harmony. We've done this every single day for the past 5 years. The routine's been exactly the same. But with that oppositional defiance disorder, sometimes it can play up and it doesn't feel safe. And it wants to be able to have some autonomy and some freedom of speech and to be able to push back. When your kids push back, yes, it is annoying and it's frustrating, especially when we're really late and they are neurodiverse, okay? Kids that push back, kids that question authority, that is normal and healthy behavior, okay? Yes, it's frustrating, but it's normal and healthy behavior, and that should actually be encouraged. If you are getting triggered because your kids are being combative or defiant or pushing back, that's a huge indicator for you that you need to be able to work on yourself and regulating and calming yourself. And why are you triggered? Maybe you're triggered because when you grew up, you were in a household where that was never allowed. Kids are seen and not heard. Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. Do as I say, don't talk back or I'll flog you, right? So sometimes if your kid is doing that to you, that can be a huge trigger for you because as a child, you were not allowed to do that. So that your trauma in terms of safety and looking after yourself and being nervous and scared to avoid punishment, avoid consequences, or avoid being thinking negatively about it, you then have those accidental fears or trauma response on your child when they're pushing back or when they want to question authority. So that's something as well, that understanding you're the parent, you're the one that's meant to be regulated, you're the one that's got to try your best. And obviously there is going to be ruptures and there are going to be conflicts and you are going to be triggered and you're going to be dysregulated and sometimes you're going to lose your biscuits at your kids. All right, that's inevitable. That's normal, right? The most important thing to do when we do lose our biscuits at our kids, when there is a conflict, when you lose it, when you accidentally yell or whatever that is, that's called a rupture. So if you YouTube, you can see it's like a little volcano that's rupturing. And when this rupture is conflict, rupture is normal and rupture is healthy, rupture is inevitable. And it happens everywhere, whether it be your kids, whether it be your partner, whether it be your friends, whether it be your parents, obviously at work. Ruptures are normal and healthy. So understanding essentially sometimes if you're a people pleaser, that's very, very upsetting and triggering. So you will do everything to avoid a rupture. Getting back to your kid, if they are ODD, they push back sometimes or they question authority. If you're not regulated or you're triggered because of your childhood, you then go Burko and get upset at your kids and lose that's fine. So that's called a rupture. When you calm down, when you regulate, self-soothe, you then need to repair what has just happened. And what repair looks like, so on YouTube, it's like my fingers look like a volcano. And so then repair is like a beautiful little soothing umbrella that comes over the volcano to be able to soothe it and tell it that everything's okay. Listen, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to yell at you. There's no excuse for it. I love you very much. Are you okay? What made you feel really scared? Were you scared in that moment? What made you feel really scared? How can I help you not do that in the future? Okay. Do you know what I'm saying? So when you repair, you essentially take accountability for your actions or your words and what you've done and take responsibility as to you're the parent and you shouldn't, in a perfect world or secure attachment world, make your child feel that way. Obviously, I need to reinforce it's going to be inevitable that this happens, okay? But if you can teach your kid rupture and repair, then that's the best thing for them because you're not then causing all this upset and trauma because you're going back and repairing it and saying, I love you. I'm sorry. I won't do it again, or I'll try my best. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. If you just keep on having repairs every time they have an ODD kind of rah, 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 where they're arguing at you or they're pushing back or whatever that is, and you constantly yell at them and you never repair, they then assume that they're not good enough, they're too much, my mum doesn't love me, I have to stay away from her, it's my fault, I'm not good enough. That's going to be their then internal dialogue. If you go back and repair and say, listen, it's not your fault, you're not too much, I am sorry, I should have been there for you. Next time, can we please sit down and have a conversation or negotiate? Because we need to figure out how I can support you, and then I have to teach you how to communicate with me. That in that moment when you repair and say that I love you, that then changes their negative beliefs about themselves. I am not too much. She does love me. She is trying to. So that's the repair that's very important with all of this. Obviously, neurodiverse can be very difficult. It's very exhausting because sometimes it's like arguing with a miniature version of yourself. Okay. And then if you weren't allowed to do those things as a kid because you were a neurodiverse kid, that's very upsetting for you as a mum, as a current parent, and how hard that can be. But doing things like this, like listening to podcasts and trying to make yourself aware and educate yourself, that means that you're a good mum and you're trying your best. So don't give up on yourself, okay? Everything's going to be okay. They're having a hard time as well, and so are you. So maybe we can find little pockets of time in the afternoon or when they see if they're neurodiverse and then they're potentially ADD or ADHD, they then spiral a lot of the time and ruminate a lot of the time, which then leads to that anxiety, which then increases the ODD and then their need for control of that OCD kind of stuff. So then they would need to be able to control the situation by pushing back, by doing all of that stuff. See how it's all interlinked and how it all kind of makes a little bit of sense? The way it's all to do with executive functioning. Oh my God, I'm going to sneeze. No, it's gone. All right, my beautiful mums, that was just a little quickie on oppositional defiance disorder, how it can show up, and obviously how if it's undiagnosed in people and your partner has it or you have it, sometimes that's their behavior. And it's don't tell me what to do, society, don't tell me what to do, my partner, you're trying to control me. And sometimes they will also be like, don't tell me what to do, myself, with their own internal dialogue where they know they should do something or they know they need to stop something and they can't do it. All right. All right. Love you guys. Have a great day. Bye.